That's okay.
Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for your time here. I'm super excited to get to know you. Honestly, when we met, I wasn't really sure about your business, but I can kind of sense that I didn't understand your business, but I kind of sense when I meet great people to learn from and who build amazing things. So I was just trusting my intuition and said like, hey man, it would be really cool if I can get to know you, learn a bit about you. And then in our follow-up conversation, I was proven right. So you have so much more experience than anyone I know around go-to-market. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And also what made you free up your time, because you're very busy and you can go to a lot of different venues and events. So yeah, tell me a bit about yourself and what drove you here today.
Yeah, happy to. And just to put you at ease, a year ago, I didn't know anything about my space either. So, I guess we're still learning, and I'm more than happy to kind of try to bring you up to speed and your audience as well without having to go into too much detail and bore you about infrastructure and all that stuff. But just to put it simply, the reason I'm happy to be on this podcast is I've been on the other side of the screen, just like you have. I've been hosting a podcast for quite a while, interviewing founders in Southeast Asia, and I'm more than happy to return the favor. I'm always interested in participating in bringing value to other people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, regardless where they are. And part of my growth journey as a founder has always been around go to market. I'm a growth hacker at heart and always happy to kind of brainstorm and share ideas and hacks that I've been working on and hear about other people's hacks as well. So that's kind of why I'm here.
Actually, I'm traveling right now in Austria, and when I went to Bangkok, it was like really great seeing how flourishing the environment is of other people creating businesses like yourself. I had no idea how many people are based in Southeast Asia to create like amazing businesses. And it's not just Singapore. There are other places as well. So yeah, that's something I found like really cool. Um, you mentioned you created 3 successful exits. What did you learn from them, and what changed on how you run the businesses?
Yeah, no.
Before we talk about AI, but how did you create the initial businesses, and what changed along the journey till you're where you're now?
So I started in a very traditional and boring space. I was in investment banking, and I immediately after 2 years realized this is not meant for me. I'm not the type of guy who can bend to structure and follow a specific hierarchy and things like that. So I realized I just cannot work in the corporate world. As much as I love finance and I do admire people in the corporate world, me, myself, I cannot operate in that framework. So I absolutely had to do something where I was in charge of the failures and the victories, and I basically painted my own story. So I decided to build a business in a space that I didn't know much about. It was design and communication, but the transition from investment banking wasn't so hard because, you think finance, you're thinking, okay, well, these guys are making investments, they're trading, etc. Turns out in investment banking, we're doing mergers and acquisitions. And as an associate or junior analyst or whatever, you're kind of just doing presentations all day and a bit of spreadsheeting as well. But what I realized is that, we made these presentations that are supposed to help with 100 million, billion-dollar transactions. And it's a bunch of juniors who have no idea what they're doing who are making these pitch decks. And so the premise of my first startup, or at that point, it was really just a product as service company that I built, was to hire amazing designers, storytellers, editors, etc., and craft super compelling stories around whether it's fundraising, product launches, mergers and acquisitions, anything business related, but with a much more polished appeal. And that was the premise of my first business. And it paid off. It worked really well. We grew quite substantially. And that kind of brought me into the world of product-based services. And at that time, we didn't have all the automations and AI that we did back or now. And so figuring out ways to break down workflows and automate, or at least bring humans in where needed, etc. That was kind of special back then. So at first business that was a success led me to build another product-based service, this time in the ad tech world. So servicing different agencies and providing all sorts of production work for these agencies. Again, very big success. We just got lucky. We spoke to the right people, built relationships with major agencies, and just became a preferred vendor. That agency brought me to Southeast Asia because at that time, there was a big gap in the type of talent that I needed in North America. And in order to acquire that talent, I looked at various countries in Southeast Asia, and what got my attention was really the Philippines. They had amazing staff, spoke perfect English, were willing to work around the clock, and super cost effective. So throughout the years, I grew a big team in Manila, traveled back and forth several times a year, and started to appreciate and love Southeast Asia in general.
Really, you
So
had a team in Manila. That's crazy.
yeah, so I had a team of close to 40 people in Manila, and for a service agency, so that's pretty big. The rest of my team was in Toronto, where I was based.
And what were they doing, the team in Manila?
So we had basically animation, development, all sorts of assets that digital agencies need for the digital ad campaigns. So animated ad banners, video, microsites, all those things.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, for me, sorry for interrupting you. I mean, for me, it's like, I'm doing this for 2 years now. I mean, before I had like a company, but I was never locked in, like now. And, a part of me is like, okay, fuck it. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go back and get a job. But I don't want to. Like, I don't see myself doing it. So there's like this fear I have in me is like, if I don't succeed, I need to go back to like it feels like a need. So I think the pain is pretty big for me going back and doing it. So, but there's this fear in me, to go back. Like, what advice do you have for people like me who start out their company? What advice can you give these people to not give up, keep going? Like, what would you tell yourself when you're young? I mean, I'm pretty sure you had moments where like, is this working? Or was it always like, hey,
no, I
it's
always
working?
have these moments. I'm close to 40 now, and every month I think, should I get a job? Whatever. It's normal to feel like, you want to be told what to do. You want to have the comfort of a salary, vacations. In the last 17 years, I haven't had a salary or a vacation or anyone telling me what to do. So it's super, super rough. What I would say is failure is not an option. And going back to corporate is just not an option, because you'll die inside. Then you'll do whatever it takes to make it work. During those agencies and throughout the years, I've taken absolutely dumb projects just because I needed the cash flow. Things that didn't scale, were not fun to work on, clients I hated. I've been through it. But for me, it was just like generate some cash flow, cut your costs as much as possible until you can invest in your growth. And anyone who's trying to do that these days has so many options, right? In terms of cutting costs, you can live in Southeast Asia where you could literally live really comfortably for less than 1,000 euros a month. You can use a variety of different tools to build a business from scratch, which we never had. I mean, 17 years ago, I had absolutely no tools. I mean, I was using things like Trello and whatnot, and those were cutting edge. Now, within an hour, I can build a SaaS that does pretty much anything.
Now you can build your own Trello, right? You can build your own
Trello for a few dollars and a couple hours of work. I mean, it's ridiculous what we have access to. And so anyone who's...
What project management tools do you use right now? Like Trello?
Yeah,
Asana?
so now, our product is very, very tech heavy. So we use Jira and Confluence internally, but Trello is perfectly fine. I mean, if you're just starting off, get a free version of Trello, and that's the best project management tool. I've used it for years. Absolutely loved it. I'm all about simplicity. I don't love these big tools. For example, for CRMs, I've tried them all: Salesforce, Pipedrive, HubSpot, etc. And now that I'm building the biggest business that I'm ever ambitioning to build, it's not quite the same level as my previous fintech in the Philippines, but I've reverted to a much simpler approach with a super cheap CRM called Folk. It's basically the Trello versus Jira. That's what Folk is versus HubSpot.
I heard about it. Folk, yeah.
I love it. It's fully embedded in LinkedIn, so you can integrate directly from LinkedIn. You can add leads at different stages of the sequence. You can connect all your conversations. It just does everything you need without all the fluff and all the upsells from the giants like HubSpot and Pipedrive.
That's interesting. I think I spoke with some people there without knowing. I haven't tested it. We're using it's kind of one note. It's kind of funny. Yeah, true. You can build all these tools with AI, but the fundamentals are it's good to use Trello or good to use Apollo or HubSpot, like whatever your use case is, because it's kind of the integrations and certainty is like great, That's
Yes.
what it comes down to. And I think this is empowering in a lot of ways, like also for revenue generation, but also I think it's if you work with a team and have admin management, like team management, I think there's no way around than using the existing software for now.
No, totally, totally. I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I'm just saying, if you have a limited budget and you want to start, there's so many options for free to very cheap to do almost anything that you want to do to build a business.
I'm looking at the pricing of Fork. Oh, that's okay. Monthly, $25. Interesting. That's great. I mean, we're using really a lot of Apollo in our company and stuff. But yeah, that's not the topic of today. I think I find it very fascinating speaking to someone like yourself, where you created all these businesses and you're still around and keep doing it. I'm also getting close to 40. I'm now 36, turning 37 soon. I think that you mentioned your previous companies were successful. How do you define success? I think I hear people exiting their companies and then being part of XYZ. I think what happens in reality is bigger companies, they just stop working on a product and they tell the story, which I think is fine. It's totally legitimate to say your startup didn't shut down, you're just part of a company, but it's like you as a founder are now working for another company in reality, right? And I was thinking about this for myself on what story I'm telling myself and what's actually happening, like in my own value set, like it's everyone different. And I think at the stage I am, I'm definitely creating this bootstrap company, which is very heavily service-based. We have a component that is productionizing service in a way, but we're definitely not there yet. We now have a few things that have high product market fit, but we don't know for sure, and we're building around and evolving the product.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm honest with myself, it's like we're in the very beginning after 2 years, after 2 years of working incredible hard, 1 year having absolutely no revenue. I think we're just getting started now on what you describe. Is this normal? Is this
Yes.
normal? What makes you say
It's
that?
normal because it's what happened for my first company. The first, we started making revenue after 4 or 5 months, but this is when I was taking all the most random projects I could find on Upwork. And back then, I think it was called Elance. And we were getting shitty budgets, tons of deliverables and whatnot. But for me, I'd rather get that and have some cash flow to be able to continue growing and trying to build a brand, trying to build credibility, rather than just be picky from the get-go and, spend a year or more not acquiring any customers. That was my hustle mentality at the time. My second business, it was very different. I partnered up with a guy who was able to bring in customers off the get-go. So we just had to build really solid operations and then scale from there. So it was already a step further. But for my third company, my fintech, it was a buy now, pay later that turned into a salary lending company. It took more than 2 years to get some revenue. There was a lot of product building, creating a brand reputation, integrations to multiple e-commerces, etc. So 2 years to get to revenue. But that's when you move from bootstrap businesses, my first two in bootstrap, to a VC-backed business, which requires a lot of effort, etc., before you can make any money. So you're asking me about success, and I want to go back to that because it's very interesting. I feel like I was way more successful in my first two businesses, which in hindsight were only seven-figure exits. But because we were two founders,
Stupid question. What is a 7-figure exit? Is it a 100K?
It's 1 to 9 million, basically.
1 to 9 million. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's great.
Seven-figure exits, but only two founders and fully bootstrapped. So everything goes to us, right? And the other part of the success was both of those acquisitions were a zero earnout acquisition, in a sense that we didn't have to work for the acquirer. We didn't have to stay in business because we had fully automated operations and we could prove it with a 6 months track record. So we could tell them we don't want to work at it because we don't need to. You could create an earnout on like maintaining or growing sales by X. So we have like part cash at the front, up front, and then the rest after a year or whatnot. My third business, which was a fintech, VC backed, tons of investors, 4 founders, a bunch of dilution. When we exited, we were already close, almost at 8 figures in revenue, and so like it was a bigger deal overall. But I found it way less successful because we were so many founders and investors and things like that. So even if you remove the monetary aspect
How
of
much
it,
money did you raise in total?
so by the time we sold, we probably, it's because we were also raising debt and equity. So it was in the tens of millions of dollars. I can't give you an exact figure,
Yeah,
because I don't
it's like a
remember.
lot of
And also
money.
we have
Yeah.
NDAs and stuff with the
Yeah.
acquirer.
It's a lot of money. It's more than $100,000, right? Yeah.
It's a lot of money. And also we had to do an earn-out for 14 months with the company that acquired us. So all in all, I thought that was a very unsuccessful business in a sense. It was obviously great and we turned it into something awesome. But for many reasons, I found the first two more successful. So now with this current business that I have, I'm trying to emulate the original businesses and why they were successful, keeping it with only two founders, not raising more than we need, trying to stay as lean as possible, having that mentality and scaling it. And ideally, if and when we sell it in the future, we've automated it so well that if we decide to stay with the acquirers because we love working with them and there's a massive upside to staying with them, not because we're forced to based on the conditions of the deal. That would be a success for me.
Yeah. So basically, you don't mind the acquisition, but just like it had been nice being a bit more in control of shaping your own
Yes.
path there.
I want to be in a position of power, basically, in a way, and feel like I'm in control. Because the only reason I'm building a business is to be my own boss, to have the freedom that it comes with. There are many scenarios, people building their own business, but building their own prison in a sense. And that's not the idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I'm taking notes here. I mean, that's, it's funny, right? So I'm maybe in between. So I raised like a little bit of money, but most of it is I'm in control. Like we know what is our valuation now, 6.5 million or 7 or 8, I don't know, like doesn't matter, but we raised like six figures. So now I know, I never know how much. Lower six figures sounds a bit cooler. So most of the thing is with us, and I have one co-founder who's technical, but he's kind of part-time on it. And so in reality, I'm kind of in control in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the path on what we're doing is pretty hard because we're creating this marketplace that enables AI. It takes a lot of effort. We're seeing now a lot of great customers work with us, but it is a hustle, and we're getting there step by step. It's not like quick. I had another business I created when I worked for Facebook Matter on the side, which went from $0 to $1 million revenue very quick. That was easier. I wish I had a co-founder, a real one, like that is operationally involved day to day, like a real one.
Well, why don't you? Just curious.
Basically, I cannot offer. It's a good question. So now as the business has traction, like almost $500,000 revenue a year, like in reality between 250 and $500,000 revenue. Like it depends. There's a lot of variety
Mid six figures.
Mid six figures. Let's say $250,000 revenue per year to be conservative. Then we still need to invest in technology, so it's expensive, the development. You want to have some parts outsourced to lower cost countries, but not the important ones, like not the infrastructure and the overseeing. So that's expensive no matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you hire, right? If you need someone who's technically strong, which is the co-founder, Simonos, the CTO, and that's expensive. Cash-wise, it's really tough, but it's possible. Then I have people operational on the team, so that is fine. It works, but I don't really have a team lead. Mm-hmm. So I actually need a proper team lead. I have someone doing it fractional, but I actually need a real team lead. And that should be the COO. And I need to pay myself salary, because when I didn't pay myself salary and anything, my life was pretty shit and everything went down. That's one learning I had, So basically,
I agree with you. So I'm not paying myself again for this current business.
But you have savings and stuff, right?
Of course, but no one likes to tap into their savings, right? So it's tough. Sometimes motivation is low, but you have to remind yourself why you're doing it. At least give yourself targets to hit before you start paying yourself and things like that. But in your case, you're generating revenue. I think it's a great thing to pay yourself. I think for many founders, what I think they make as a mistake is they go from a corporate job to starting a company, and they have a certain level of lifestyle that they want to maintain. So they raise money and they continue paying themselves not too far from where they were before to maintain that lifestyle. that's a huge burden when you're building. You're less hungry, so to speak, and also you're burning through your cash quite quickly. So I think that's a big mistake that a lot of founders make.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make this mistake. I was actually putting myself on 800 or 900 USD salary from coming
Yeah, that's
from
very reasonable.
a lot more before I was at Canva and Meta. But at Canva earned a lot. And then actually not so much in reality, but much more stable income. And then I basically cut my costs so much. I didn't go out. I stopped drinking. I still don't drink, which is a great habit to have cost-wise and health-wise.
Same here, same here.
That's the only way how I really did it. But I kept investing in sports. So I kept my gym membership, which was the most expensive part of my life. But that kind of keeps me sane, right? So it's like cutting back on $200 a month, which is a lot for the gym, but I love it and need it so much. I go every morning. It's kind of like the only investment I kept consistently, throughout this year. Also lost my girlfriend. That I think was also a big investment, unintentional one. But that was really like everything was kind of okay, like cutting back the cost and stuff. But I think losing your partner is really fucking hard for anyone. But I also realized it happens. It happens to a lot of founders too. I'm not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I see it. Like I think it kind of worked. Now I'm making money, but I'm paying myself like at least $3,000 out every month. And if I don't, I make cuts in the business and stuff and get more clients, because if I don't do this, I lose everything. Like you lose, we were not able to meet. We met because we organized like a small get together. And if you can't participate socially anymore, which I didn't do for almost 1.5 years, you just it's not fun, So you need to make enough to survive and participate in life. Bangkok is great for that. But yeah, that's kind of the situation. I think now where we are is, I think we hopefully going to do much more and help companies like yourself to grow. But what do you do right now that you can't pay yourself a salary, and where are you going to end up with so it's worth it? So what's your vision for your own company?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, this fourth one is sort of my legacy business. I don't mind working on it for 10 years, 15 years. I realized when I sold these businesses, the last 3 businesses I sold are still alive and kicking today. And each and every one of them has flourished since I sold it. And what I realized is that oftentimes I sold too early. I mean, every single time I sold too early, whether it was intentional or forced. Without going into details, I realized now this specific company, I just want to grow it as big as I can take it, not sell for any reason other than because it's the best possible outcome and that I've already sort of maxed out on my own and with my own team. So the vision is grow it as big as possible, spend 10, 15 years on it, enjoy how the industry evolves and evolve with it, and then ultimately sell to a company that's even better than mine, that can make it grow bigger than I could ever, and potentially stay working with them. Or if working with them is not something that I'm interested in, at least other than a possible earnout, I wouldn't mind going on the investment side. I've done a lot of investing on my own as an angel, but going more on the institutional side, working as a VC potentially, all those things are interesting to me. And I think after a certain number of years of being an entrepreneur, you get worn out. It's a grind forever, no matter how successful you are in it. Every day is painful. You're always questioning yourself. I always ask myself why I'm torturing myself like this. And that goes back to the idea of, looking for a job, stability, someone to tell you what to do. Sometimes that just feels like the easy out. So yeah, that's kind of my plan. It's not really structured, but that's the idea.
Yeah, I love it. To me, I'm at the stage where I'm still very grateful on the suffering. I'm very happy that I'm in the position, very thankful, where I wake up every day. I know why I'm waking up. I used to work in investment banking. I worked for BNP Paribas in some derivatives department, not M&A. And I used to work for Canva and Meta, and I'm really, really thankful. I learned so much. I think I learned a lot about building products. I have to say, like, I don't want to talk this small in any way. I was incredibly lucky. Like now when I go to work, I know what to do. And when I work with people, oh, wow, how do you do this? I don't know. I'm just doing it. It's kind of automatic, some parts. But I think the effort it takes to move 1 meter in this company is huge because the revenues are massive and the organization and the amount of people you have to work with to make it happen is also massive. And I'm not always aligned on how people work. And sometimes I think it's just totally bullshit and they should be fired. But instead, you become the problem. Like it works like a few times, but I think if you're too much stirring up the stuff and you're not the boss and not on a VP level, or even on a VP level, eventually, I think you get done if you're like not strategic enough. You kind of get pushed out or fired, but you win a few fights and then eventually you. So if you fight, if you want to move things forward in these companies, if you actually want to move the needle, you have to put your neck out. And then you don't win all the fights.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually care, I think if you truly care, if you work for, this is a statement I make now. I want to know if I'm wrong about it. If you truly care about the product and success of a company, if you're employed, you have to put your neck out and lose, which also means maybe you lose your job. Otherwise, what change can you make? You make the change that is conformist with the system and you never really be able to move the needle so much. I think that's what my view is. I may be wrong about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think, where I am, because in my heart, I'm always an entrepreneur. And then you stopped by all this. I spoke with this founder from Data Button. They're really successful now, Trigger, and he has this amazing accent from Norwegian, Trigger. And he said it's like cementing in organizations, when the cement settles and you cannot avoid it, it just has to settle. And that's how it feels, the cementing.
Mm.
And so I'm very thankful for the pain I experience every day. And it kind of drives me forward. But yeah, I work with a lot of people. You ask me why I haven't found a co-founder, because people usually can't handle it. All the uncertainty and all the things. If you come from a great paid job, they want to work for a startup and be a founder, but it's just very fucking hard.
Yeah.
That's the reality, like for most people, it's too hard, and I understand why. And I'm very lucky I'm in this position, but yeah, I can see also how not everyone feels the same.
Yep, I agree. But you mentioned something that reminds me of a piece of advice that I give a lot of our founders is I never went the corporate route. Especially I did investment banking throughout my my bachelor and then a little bit after graduating, but I never went through a corporate job that would train me to being an entrepreneur. And when I say that, is learning a specific skill set that you'll be able to leverage for your entrepreneurship journey, whether it's go-to-market, operational, whatever it is. I think that's a really good skill. And I think most entrepreneurs should work for a corporation, at least for a couple of years, to take it as sort of a training ground. And I'm not talking necessarily like a gigantic enterprise, but a fairly successful startup, I think, is the best type of training. So you mentioned Meta. I think that could be okay, but I'm thinking any startup that's raised a Series B or Series C, they're already fairly established. They have frameworks in place. They have some of the most talented people in place. If you go there and soak up all the knowledge and work for 2 years, or you set yourself a time limit and you say, hey, after 2 years for sure, I'm quitting because I really want to build something, you'll have learned so much that then you can apply and be so ahead of the other founders that never got that experience. And I wish, a lot of times that I had that, because for me, I had to invent everything from scratch, learn online, learn from people. And I'm not saying that's bad. Grassroots learning is also good, but you make so many more mistakes. And to be honest, like learning from mistakes is probably the best type of learning, because if you learn just from seeing someone do it without kind of understanding why it's being done that way, it's less impactful than doing something a certain way because you know that the other ways are going to fail and you've experienced it. So yeah, I think that's the lesson for me and for others. Just get a really good job or any job in a really good company for a while and then start your own thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think it's something I look back now and be very thankful of. Also, I worked in Meta 2014 when there were 5,000 people and I left when there were 50,000. So there was like a different type of growth. So back then for example, I applied 14 times at Google. I got rejected for like all the time. And then in Meta, I got my job over within a week because they loved the hustle I had, and it's just a different DNA. So Mark Zuckerberg is a dropout. They liked me as a personality to join their team, and it was true, because then I went there to Dublin, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I learned a lot and grew with the company, but then it became very corporate. It wasn't for me anymore. In Canva, I joined when there were 600 people, and I left when there were 3,000. And I think I learned, I don't wish I joined a smaller company, because these companies basically enabled me also to travel abroad. Because since when let's say I'm in Austria, you're from France, right? So let's say you're there and you work for a Series B startup in Austria, I will stay there. Or you will stay in France very likely. But when you work for a company that is established, it allowed me actually to move abroad to the US, and then also to Sydney, and give me international exposure, broaden my network and stuff, and all of this. I think it's always nice. But I think in reality, it gave me the ability to see how top companies are built in different countries. I don't think US is the best. I mean, they are most concentrated. They are the best probably right now on many fronts. But I think it gave me this exposure. And yeah, definitely what you say, and join like a established company, learn. But it's not always possible, right? So I think people don't have the opportunities to do that because they don't want to leave the country. If you go to a Series B or C company, that is great, to London, you're competing with the local folks. So maybe you need to join a big company. I don't know. Maybe you need to join L'Oreal or Unilever first. I don't know, for a few years. But yeah, I think for me, you're right, 100%. Get a job first. Don't start straight away. It's going to be a little bit easier for you. Yeah. But then also when you leave your job, and I think that's what you mentioned before, that resonated with me, like, you have to give up things, you have to give up things. You have to be prepared for that. And I think when I look at people around me that start companies from Canva, so I shouldn't say that, when I look at them, I sometimes think, I feel, how can they do it? They're not giving, how can they work in these companies? It looks like they're not giving up enough. I don't know, like, I don't know the details, but I don't want to judge. But I am judging, I'm thinking about, like, how is it possible they can buy these houses, live this amazing life, going out and build a startup? How is it? I'm wondering, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm thinking, like, what am I doing wrong that I have to do all this suffering? What's wrong with me? In a way, like, how
Everyone's suffering privately. Don't worry.
privately,
Every
yeah,
entrepreneur.
exactly. You don't see it. Yeah, that's
don't
I
see it.
think in my initial phase, I was like almost like jealous about them and thinking bad. And then later, when I went through all this stuff, and now I kind of have empathy for every builder, everyone who does it and tries it. Everyone has their own story. It's so fucking hard. Like, I don't, like, it doesn't matter what I think about them personally anymore. Like, because first, to me, they're like, okay, they're taking the step. It doesn't matter. It's like really hard, and hard for everyone, and you give up something, for sure. Yeah, 100% what you said. But yeah, definitely need to give up a lot, I guess, to do it. But then there's also people like Sam Altman, maybe when he raised, I think maybe he was never on less than 200 his salary, right? In his
For
life.
sure. I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, he had a pedigree already, so he had the Y Combinator experience, etc. But if you read the experience of Melanie when she was building Canva, she went through all the suffering that you can imagine.
Yeah.
She had a shitty idea. Investors didn't want to hear about it. She got rejected everywhere. I'm sure they didn't make revenue for a while, probably didn't pay themselves, probably didn't take vacation. I mean, for me, the first 12 years of my career as an entrepreneur, I didn't take a single day of vacation. Drove my ex-girlfriend nuts, but
Did she left you because of that?
No, not because of that, but that's just something that she was coming from the corporate world, and she was like, you need to take vacation and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I mean, every day I take a vacation, I'm not working on this, and I could just build it bigger. Like, every hour that I put into this business will reward me. And I'm not doing it because out of not wanting to and suffering. I'm actually enjoying, like, I'm an entrepreneur. I actually enjoy this, whether it's ups or downs, like whatever. I just enjoy the building part. And so if you don't have that fiber in you, that entrepreneurial fiber, and you don't actually enjoy building, you're building for the wrong reasons. And the wrong reasons is vanity and things like wanting to be popular and rich and whatever. You're not going to make it, in my opinion, because you won't have what it takes to do it when it's really annoying and when it's not sexy at all.
Yeah, I mean, funny that you say that, Melanie Perkins, you know about them. When I applied for Canva initially, I rejected 2019. I was like, what is this company? Or 2018, what do I want? Kind of shitty product, like social media. And then I took this job at a bank. which was very great, like initially, but I absolutely wasn't a fit. Absolutely. I worked with the son of the CEO of Erste Group. He was my intern, but I wanted to have a team. I didn't want the son. I mean, he was cool. He was actually good. I think I was very lucky again, but I wasn't thankful. I wasn't thankful at all. Like, fuck that. Like, I don't want it. I wasn't thankful. So then I was like, hey, do you still have this job at Canva? And I got the job and moved there, but I wasn't really keen. I didn't negotiate well. But then the manager back then, Rob Kowalski, he's now the head of product, and I kind of learned from him. It was awesome. I joined him. He was this leader in presentations, but I didn't believe in the product. I had no conviction at all. I was like, hey, it kind of makes sense. Doing the best job in the recruiting, I kind of take a leap. I like designing, so it made sense. I had no idea. I didn't do my analysis on it. But yeah, Melanie is a hustler. Also Cliff, her husband. They are, they are very hardworking, and they did a lot in the previous company. They sold like school books and printed them, so very hard stuff. Yeah, I love it. But yeah,
I actually met Melanie in 2015 and 2016 because they had an office in Manila and we were in the same co-working space.
Seriously?
Yeah, and so back in the days, I came from the design and advertising world and stuff like that, and so I kind of took a look at the business, and back then what it was, I thought, I don't think this is going to be successful. We rely too much on tools like Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that. No one's going to use these things at scale. It's good for like maybe individuals or whatever who can't learn. See, I was completely wrong, and I was from the
You should
industry,
have joined them back then, right? So, maybe, help them.
I should have. It would have been a better idea.
I met Melanie Perkins 2013 when it was an exchange in Sydney. She just pitched, I think, her startup, and I wrote, hey, can I work for you? I need a visa. She didn't respond, but I'm connected with her for more than 10 years. But I think she doesn't know me, or maybe she knows me. I don't know, really. Now we work with Canva, in fact, differently.
I use Canva all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Anyhow, I mean, this conversation is a bit different, but it's kind of, I think, great, inspiring for other people to do stuff. Last thing for AI, what do you think are the implications for building companies in the stage of AI? I mean, we use ChatGPT, we use we use OpenAI mostly, actually Gemini, Grok, but actually we use mostly OpenAI, I would say, across the business. How do you see AI playing out for you building a company, and what's your advice for founders building something right now besides building AI products?
Well, building AI products is, probably a good idea, but if you have a specific niche you're really good at already, and there are specific pain points that you can solve using AI for specific clients that might not be savvy enough to go look for their own tool or build their own tooling. So it's not trivial to build AI as the way to do it. In our case, we're building AI for infrastructure, which is very sensitive. And, my co-founder has 20 years of experience in this space. So, and at first we didn't even want to build it as an AI tool. We just figured out we could do it safely, especially with the ascent of MCPs and things like that. But my general advice for people building anything, whether it's AI or a service company, whatever, is, make sure that every single workflow is leveraging AI, and make sure that every employee you hire is 10x because they're, if not AI native, at least AI friendly, and they're willing to learn and become better using AI. The downside of all this AI is that you may be able to use all these tools and it makes life easier, but it's not just the case for you, it's the case for everybody. So every single business is now much more at risk and has so much more competition, because literally like 90% of businesses can be done by anyone who's AI savvy. So whether it's building something or going to market and trying to do sales, you're competing against everyone else who can now do it. So it's equalized the playing field quite a lot. And, very innovative strategies we had around go-to-market, where we automated outreach on LinkedIn and email, customized messaging, enriched leads lists, and all these things that I was doing 8 years ago, which were cutting edge. Now anyone can do it with super cheap tools. So how do you differentiate yourself when you're selling to people? It's much harder. There's a lot of noise. Most strategies these days are not working. So if anything, in this age of AI, if you want to stand out, being more human is actually a better strategy. And building a personal brand, making sure that clients know they're dealing with a human and not with an AI agent, Things like that will make you stand out. I think the strategy in the era of AI is to use AI in the background, but build humanly and build a human presence.
I hear that a lot. It's like Atlassian or something like that, which is called human in the loop. Even for our workflows, we use AI a lot, but we can't automate fully. So we have like the human in the loop at the right time. And yeah, it's true. I mean, all this LinkedIn outreach is like ineffective, basically. It's just a catalyst. I think if people know about you already, that's interesting. I mean, I meant to say any company that you build these days has to have AI, I guess, to some degree. But I guess my feeling is maybe don't go out there to think first about AI, think first about the problem to solve. And then AI is kind of like the mobile revolution where everything needs to be about mobile. I think that's what AI is like a platform layer that you need to think about.
We
I
don't
don't
even
think
mention AI when we pitch our business because there is AI fatigue already. It's only been 2 years, 3 years now, and people are already tired of hearing AI this, AI that. You're almost more different if you don't mention AI, and it's just a given that you're using AI.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah. Hey, Tim, this was like really, really amazing talking to you. I appreciate it. And I hope we have more chats like this together. And also for the listeners here, reach out to Tim if you want to make your data platform, your product more secure. Is this right? Or when should people come to you?
I'll give the pitch. If you guys are using Kubernetes and you want a way to optimize the way you manage your clusters, more than happy to give you free licenses so you can test it out. Just visit KubeGrade or reach out to me, tim@kubegrade.com, or find me on LinkedIn, Tim Grassin. It's been a pleasure, Pius. Really fun to talk to you, and always open to chat more.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim, and have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers.